Hi, I am Rose, and this is my testimony for Christ. In the potter's hands. The sacrifice you desire is a broken spirit. You will not reject a broken and repentant heart, O God. Psalm 51:17. I fully understood that verse when I was in my adolescent stage. Through it all, the Lord has been gracious and merciful. I grew up in a Christian family with godly parents and influences. I have an older brother with a 2-year age gap, a father who is a pastor, and my mother who is a music teacher. During our toddler stages, my parents would leave me and my brother at the house of their American friends who are in the Philippines as missionaries to take care of us while they went to work. My parents are diligent workers and faithful ministers. However, the amount that they were making was barely enough to keep us living. They never depended on others and were always looking for ways to earn more. Despite our financial situation leaving us always hanging by a thread, they kept faith and drew strength from God. As the years passed, our family grew and 3 more members were added, but our income didn't grow as much as our family. I never realized how bad it was when I was young because my parents would always make time to play with us, and we were all homeschooled, which made us closer with each other. We grew up listening to Christian songs, watching Veggie Tales, and reading the Bible, but I never really committed myself to Christ. I withheld a part of me from Him and never truly experienced Christ's love until my teenage years. As more time passed, there were now 2 teenagers in the family, my brother and I. These years were the most frustrating or sensitive years in our time as we felt and experienced new emotions. I started staying and going outside more often, playing with my female friend and sometimes with my brothers and their friends. During my ventures in staying outside, I met a group of people who in every aspect looked cool to me and I started hanging out with them more often. I loved hanging out with them. Every day was fun and filled with new things I never knew. However, the things that they do started looking wrong to me, and eventually I realized why it was fun and new. I got so swept up with being with them and having fun that I didn't see myself falling into a trap. A trap that made me dependent on them and needed their opinions for me to see my value, my self-worth. I needed to be with them for me to feel like I have worth. Their little jokes and teasing to me became shackles that made me sink deeper to despondency. I had become a slave to people's opinions, people whose opinions never actually mattered. At the end, this group of people whom I hung out with got tired of my constant nagging and seeking of approval from them, and I was eventually left alone, left with the constant thought of, it was my fault. I had completely forgotten about my parents, my siblings, and my God who has supported my family and I throughout all the years. Instead of seeking help from God, from my parents, from people who cared for me, I sank deeper into the trap set by the devil and became depressed. I couldn't study for a year because of my low self-esteem and couldn't stop crying the moment I tried to study. I couldn't sleep properly for the fear of the future and what would happen to me because I can't study. I hid everything from my parents and ran away from God. But you can never truly outrun God. Every time I cried, I could always hear His quiet whisper telling me, I care for you. You're not alone. I'm here. Despite that, I felt like I was too broken to go back to God, and I was too ashamed to face Him and my parents. Going back to God meant telling my parents my problems. I didn't want to cause them more problems, and I thought it would be better if I didn't exist. It would be better for God to stop seeking me and let me feel miserable all alone until I can't feel anything anymore. But God doesn't just give up like that. He knows what He's doing, how He will do it, and when He will do it. 2 years passed, and a missionary from Africa attended our church and got acquainted with my family. He would tell stories about his mission trips and invited my siblings and I to their youth camp, or DTW, which stands for Discipleship Training Week. It was in this camp that I had my breakthrough from depression and the chains of low self-esteem and anxiety. On the 3rd day of camp, I was struck by the message from one of the speakers and felt a knife carve out all the pride I had in my heart, making my heart ready to finally accept Christ and His love, ready to follow Him. At prayer time after the message, I prayed and cried, asking for forgiveness from God as I forgive myself and the people who hurt me. After camp was over, I knew what I had to do next. When we arrived home and night came, I knew it was time. After eating dinner on our family table, I approached my parents, held my mother's hand, and told them all about my struggles, my thoughts, my actions, and how God saved me and never gave up. The following day, I felt like a huge load was off my back. I felt freedom.